We have been talking about class operations, about active learning analytics, getting deeper insight into what's going on in the classroom. I prepared a demo here where I'm using some tools to do precisely that. So let me go ahead and show you that. Simply for context, we have four groups of people over on the left-hand side, those that set up the platform or set up the tools. Then we have the instructor, we have the student, and we have the person providing feedback. Now the question marks refer to when the instructor is delivering material, are the students getting it? When the students are working on exercises, are they performing the right techniques? That's what's going through their mind. When those providing feedback are going through content, can they identify sort of the major blocks that the class is having? Now when it comes to the tools, I'll mention here a few. The very first one is GitHub, the repositories. That's what we're going to be using. When it comes to command line, that's simply the environment we'll be working with. When it comes to webhooks, simply highlighting that a lot of the new tools use the concept of webhooks to bring functionality together, and ultimately that we're simply trying to get analytics about what's going on. So starting out with the instructors, what you see here in the diagram is you see a GitHub repository. Somebody would set that up. Instructors themselves would create pull requests into that repository, which would be the exercises. We'd have some template that we would recommend everybody follow. There'd be exercises files in addition to a test suite that could be run against those exercises or homeworks. So ultimately, instructors are creating branches from repositories, and once they are finished, they are creating pull requests to the repository owner. So this would simply define a repository with all of the exercises and homeworks. Now when it comes to the students, the very first step that they would perform is a fork. They would create a fork of the repository that has all of the exercises plus templates, and they would have their own space then that they could work on. Now once they have done that, they can go ahead and clone that repository down to their local machine, which is this bottom layer, and they can work on this until it gets to the point where they need to push all of their solution back. If there are any updates in the time that they're working, that is not a problem. You can have two origins, as you can see here, and you can pull down any updates to the student working environment. Now this last diagram is the same as the one for the students, except it has an additional layer on top, as you can see. What we have here is that I've added a webhook. So when students submit their work, as you can see here, push origin, this webhook would catch that event. It would submit that information to a machine that we have set up beforehand, and that's what I'll demonstrate in a minute. And using that data, we can clone the repository, we can build it, we can run any test suites that we have. We can then provide feedback back to the student, and we can keep a copy of that to simply understand the patterns through the class. So let me go ahead and move first to GitHub. And as you can see here, I have a repository. This is just a dummy repository with really 3 files only in it that I've created to demonstrate these capabilities. And if I go to settings and I click on webhooks, you can see that I've added a webhook that simply points to a machine. This is a machine that I control, arlington3.mit.edu, port 3000. And when I submit code, that is simply going to send that webhook into Arlington 3. So let me go ahead and show you that. Here is Arlington 3, and I'm going to go ahead and run that little server. And it is now just listening there. Now I'm going to go ahead and move to the command line here. And the very first thing, I am in the same repository that I just showed you in GitHub. This is the local clone. I'm going to go ahead and add a file. I'll call it nano, and I'll just simply call it able.txt. And I'll say hello world. I'll go ahead and close, save the file, confirm that I have that in the file. And now I'm simply going to check the Git status. And as you can see there is one more file to be included. I am then going to add this to Git. I'll do that by simply adding everything that's in that folder. I'm then going to commit those changes. I'm going to add a comment, and I'll say added able.txt. And as you can see there, I've added one more file. My last step is to simply push those changes up into GitHub. And if all works well, that will deliver on the right-hand side using that webhook information about this push. So I'm going to go ahead and do the push. And you can see there that that message arrived. So let me go ahead and move to the top of it. And you can see here that I have a lot of information. I have who submitted it. I have also the file that I added, able.txt. It also tells me where I can go clone, and it gives me a lot more information. Now we can use that with Node.js. I've checked the packages. They're all there. We could pull it down. In fact, I did it. I just did it in a separate example. And you can build this repository. You can run tests against it. You can then provide that information back to the student, and you can keep it to get an understanding of the patterns in the class. So this is simply an end-to-end hook on analytics, or webhook, to be able to perform some analytics. Simply wanted to show you that. That's it for this one. Bye.